Okay, we've jogged our horse in our work harness and she's ready to go to a horse show. We want to fit this harness to her. This is a Friedman, a Grand National harness. It's not their limited, but it's a wonderful, nice, soft harness. I like using Friedman because of their durability and the quality of their workmanship is tremendous. This is the breastplate. I normally don't undo them to put them on. It has a little tab here to fit things. Now you'll notice we don't have an over the neck strap with our martingale. So what I do is when I put the martingale through here, I just tie a little loop in it to hold it in place until I get ready to run my lines. The next is the surcingle or girth and the turnback strap. Now here, we'll put this on first. This mare is a youngster, she's just learning, so I like to put a little padded crupper on her. And as I said, always undo your crupper. It makes it easier to put on, makes it easier on the horse. Making sure you clean out any hair that might be wrapped around their tailbone. For safety reasons, more than anything. Okay, once you've got it set, you try to pull up on their tail a little bit. So it's a little cool this morning and this harness is a little cold, so she's going to be a little cold back for a while. Now the major difference, other than the refinement between the work harness and the show harness, is this, it's called a water hook. You notice, if you remember, there was a D-ring that we used to hook snaps to for our checks and our breast collar. But this is the water hook, and this is where everything is attached to. After we get this set, we pull down, we move the loop of our martingale through the lines, and we set this. Now remember, we're not riding this mare, so her girth does not need to be as tight as a riding girth, but it needs to be snug so it's not going to slide back and forth on her. This part, once you get this set, this should have some tension but not super tight. The next thing in the next part of the process to put on the lines. The next step of our process is to put the lines on the horse. These have what are called bit stops or rein stops. They prevent the bit from pulling back through the ring and the martingale, and I'll show you what that is in a minute here. You can put these on two different ways. You can start from the back through the turret. This is actually called a turret. If you remember from your military jargon, a turret is what they use in a term they use for airplanes, and they call gun turrets because it's swivels. Push this through the martingale, put the rein stop through the martingale. Now what happens is when you pull, if you pull a horse back and their line is like this will not allow, excuse me, the bit to get stuck behind the martingale ring, and then it saves you a lot of grief and aggravation. Same thing other side. Under normal circumstances, two of us would be harnessing this mare, and they would be doing this side. The tradition dictates that the bite of your rein should go from left to right. That's the buckle on the left and the tab of the rein to the right. And this, under normal circumstances, is a nice piece of leather where you hold this in your left hand and you'll be holding your whip in your right hand. So you have the excess rein in your left hand with the bite going from left to right, or near to far, which is how you use it in horse terms, and then the whip in the right hand, the excess rein in the left hand. before we put the bridle on, I like to keep my cavesson separate from my bridle. That allows us to have some kind of stabilization for the horse when we're trying to bridle them. And it also allows you to adjust it easier. When I adjust my cavessons, I look at the cheekbones, and I like to have it about a finger width below the cheekbone. That'll nicely break their face up to make it look more balanced from the piece to the nose and from here to the eyes, and it's almost into thirds, from the ears to the eyes, from the eyes to the cavesson, from the cavesson to the nostrils. And this cheekbone is a very good reference point. I'm being assisted by my daughter Jessica, who is an assistant here at Sebring Stables. She will bridle the mare. This mare is, as I say, a junior horse, and so we still tie her bits together. She's still learning. She's never been to a horse show, and we want her to be comfortable wearing her check. We feel that she can show well enough with her bits tied together, so we're going to tie her bits together for this first horse show. Another thing that is on this bridle that was not on the work bridle was a piece of shoestring. We run shoestring from our buckle in the cheek piece of the bridle to the other buckle, and we'll buckle the overcheck rein through this shoestring. This helps hold up the overcheck bit in addition to tying it together. We could actually untie this bit because of this shoestring. It wouldn't move in her mouth or fall down, even if she were driving without her check on. You want your blinkers, your eyes right in the middle of your blinkers. See how our eyes are about in the middle? You want balance to your bridle. So when I say balance, I want, if you have two holes that you're using on the left and the right, or her left, my right, you want two holes on her right, my left. Same thing at the top. And we always go from the tip. You want 3 holes and 3 holes over here. And that will give you balance with your bridle so that your check piece runs right down the middle of their head, and you have less problem with your rein flopping to the left or to the right. You want your throat latch of your harness to be functional but not too tight. So I like to go a few inches out of the throat latch and around the jaw here. You see how this works? Just a little bit right like that. That's a good setting. And Jessica, please tighten this. When we tighten a cavesson, it's not too tight. It's snug, but you should be able to get some fingers through here, and you can. We like to keep our leather tips in their keepers. Makes for a nice, neat overall picture. Okay, she's got her harness on, she's got her bridle on. Let's review where we want something. We'll start at the front again. As far as the cavesson, you want it 1 finger width below her cheekbone. You want her eyes to be in the middle of her winkers. You can see that. You want, I didn't mention the brow band, but the brow band goes, this is the brow band to your harness. It goes to your bridle. It's below the ears. Again, almost 2/3 of the way to the ear. You have a little wrinkle in your mouth from the bit. She's comfortable with that. You see she's not fussing with her bridle. You have your throat latch a little bit out of you don't want it tight like this, is what I was talking about, and you have it right nice there. I check my martingale. I want my martingale to be relatively level with my turrets. Now, we always start with it a little lower, because as you go, everything will loosen up and pull forward, so this will go up even higher as she goes. So again, it's teaching the horse to raise up on its own without being forced with a check. This back pad is set back a little further in the show harness than it is in the work harness, and the effect is to make the intent is to make their neck look longer. So if you have it set back just a little bit, makes them look longer from the pole to the back pad. Crupper, some tension, not too tight. You don't want this back pad to ride up on the horses. You can see I can't pull this forward, but I can also have a little play in the up and down here. And that's it. The next process is to put her in a buggy and have you watch her drive a little bit. For the sake of this video, we're going to use a work jog cart. It works very similar to a show harness, and it has the tug stops on the traces, on the shafts, but it allows us to show you what's going on without getting out our pleasure cart. You pull your shafts up to your tug stops, and normally this would be fine harness traces that would buckle in here, and you have to make sure they're tight. You put them behind your French lug. Once you've got that in place, you pull this a little forward. You can adjust your girth a hole, because when she's relaxed, it will get a little larger. And then here, this is just snug. You're not trying to stabilize a saddle, you're trying to stabilize a harness. Now you have this line that you want from straight down from the turret down to these buckles. And you always, if your buckles aren't on top, the other thing, you want your safety in front of your regular girth. You want the line of your shaft to follow the line of your breast collar. So if you look back, if Caleb is shooting you, you can see that this is a perfect line from here. You don't want your shafts up here by the point of your horse's shoulder. You want your horse out in front of your buggy just a little bit. To review, we want the harness to fit squarely on the horse behind the withers, to give the impression of a longer neck. We want the shafts to fit in line with our traces in our breastplate. If you notice that this mare is moving, you want the rings of her martingale to be even or above her turrets. That was perfectly set. We didn't talk much about the overcheck, but I always have a shoestring on my overcheck so my horses can warm up a little lower than we ask them to show. That way it allows them to bend over and get soft and supple in their bridle before we check them up. If we checked her up like this is uncomfortable for her to wear until she's warmed up a little. So we start them in a shoestring, and once she relaxes, then we'll check them. We have a crupper, her turnback strap, that has some tension on it. And I will say this mare is just beginning to wear this harness, and we can take this up a little more before we're done, as we've slid up a little bit on her, but before she shows, that'll be shortened. And that's it. Thank you for watching.
So concludes Harnessing a Horse with Harry Sebring. Like the YA Facebook page, follow YA on Twitter, and this has been the first IEMHA Young Adult Alliance educational video. Thank you for tuning in. Please tune in again for our next video.
If you enjoyed this video, please consider supporting the Young Adult Alliance. For more information, email youngadultcouncil1@gmail.com or call the American Morgan Horse Association at 802-985-4944.